So, I just want to ask a quick question. Has anybody as a child had any kind of experience with a ghost? Okay, so there are a couple of you. The reason for that is that our logical mind develops over time, and we learn to block. We learn to deny reality. We learn to deny what's around us. So as we grow older, we don't have the ability anymore because we shut it out. So let me go through. I'm not sure exactly how to do this. Okay, just a brief introduction. I belong to Inspired Ghost Tracking. That's a local group here in Maryland, and we do paranormal investigations for families who have ghost problems in their home, and we cross them over because ghosts don't belong here, and I'll get to that. This powers me, coffee. I have a hurricane up there because I'm a meteorologist and hurricanes are my specialty. I have 3 dogs now. One of them passed away. Dogs are very important to me, and as it turned out, it was a dog that influenced me to write my first book. I put that picture of me over there because I have another side of me. I like dressing up as Green Lantern and going to Comic-Con. So I'm kind of like a living Big Bang Theory guy. Scientist, comic book nerd, I'm going to give you an introduction to ghosts and spirits. What happens after we pass? What I've learned from talking to people on the other side is that the energy that courses through our bodies has to go somewhere, because the law of conservation of energy states that energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. I want you to think about scientists that measure our brain waves. Our brain waves are little electrical impulses. It's just one example of the energy that flows through our body. So where does it go after the physical body dies? What I've come to find out is that it meshes with our memories and our personalities and basically our soul. That's what it is. And then we make a conscious choice to stay here on Earth for many reasons, or we cross over, we join the energies of the cosmos or heaven or Valhalla, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. So a ghost is someone that basically stays here. It's the same kind of energy. The difference between a ghost and a spirit, aside from the location, is the way they use energy to communicate. Now, both of them have to use energy to communicate. They both use physical energies, heat, light, water, and electricity. But there's one difference, and that is emotional energy. Ghosts tend to thrive on negative energy, negative emotional energy, like fear, anxiety, anger. Think about it if you go into a home that's abandoned, looks kind of creepy. What are you feeling? You feel anxiety. So what you're doing is you're actually fueling the ghost, giving them power to communicate with you, moving something, making a noise, doing something like that, even making a visible appearance. A spirit, on the other hand, like our loved ones that have died, come back to us from time to time with messages and signs, and they do that because of the love we share with them. The love, faith, and hope. Those are the 3 emotional energies that power spirits to come back to us. I include a dark entity in here too, because there are things we can't explain. I like to think of a dark entity as like a mother-in-law, but it's not really. It's I like to think of a dark entity, something people may call demons, as maybe something that's extraterrestrial, maybe another form of life from another planet. Because I think, as a scientist, I think if we think we're the only ones here in this entire universe, that we're not really thinking. So there are things that can come through the universe because they're energy. Our time. When people pass, we always have that sense of physical loss. It's a very, very heavy thing to get through. But we have to know that life goes on. And we have so much proof of that. We have so much proof of that through messages and different ways that people communicate that you just really can't dismiss it. From the other side, we're guided in making choices. For instance, if you're driving in your car and you decide, oh, I'm going to go this way instead today. And then you realize that you hear on the radio later that there was a massive accident the way that you were first going to go. That's likely because the spirit was actually helping move you to make that other choice. So spirits will help us make decisions. They'll watch out for us and protect us. Pets will actually even guide us to choose another pet, or they'll guide us to do things. I was on vacation in Puerto Rico with my partner, and we were walking down the street, and we had to decide which way to go, and suddenly I felt an urge to go to the right instead of the left. And I didn't know why. I'd never been to Puerto Rico before. I'd never been to Old San Juan. And we came across a dog walker with a Weimaraner. Now, the dog that inspired me to write my book, my first book, was a Weimaraner who was killed when his leash opened as I was walking. And suddenly I heard in my head, "Dad, I want you to know that I'm still here." And I didn't understand why. And then I realized it was the anniversary of the date that he was killed. It was February 22nd. So, spirits will guide us. And they'll remind us that they're still around and they're still helping us out. By the way, I do tend to get emotional over things because spirits convey a lot of emotion, and a lot of this stuff is very personal to me. Murder, suicide, and accidents. This has always been a question of mine about what happens with people after they pass. Initially, there's confusion. I had driven by the site of what was an accident back in 2005, or I'm sorry, 2008, in Elkridge, just south of Baltimore. And I sensed that there was a 30-something-year-old Hispanic man that was standing there, and he was just dazed and confused. He didn't know what happened. So I knew that there was an accident, but there was no physical evidence to prove that. So I called my partner, who left like 2 hours earlier, and I asked him, I said, was there an accident right here on the corner of Route 1 where Route 100 comes up? And he said, yes, there was. There was a tractor-trailer truck that had hit a pickup truck, and they were taking a body into the ambulance. And I said, well, that man is still standing there. He doesn't know that he's dead yet. So I went back, and as I drove by, I informed him that he had died in an accident and that he needed to cross over. And of course, his family came over the next couple of days and put up flowers and all that, and he realized that he didn't belong there anymore, and he crossed over because I kept going by. So there's some confusion initially. Same with murders and suicides. Suicide victims do cross over, by the way. They realize once they get on the other side that they actually have done something selfish, and it really shouldn't have been their time, so they cut their lives short. But what they need is forgiveness, and it's just kind of a guilt thing that we're taught that we have to get forgiveness, or we may not deserve to go to heaven or Valhalla, or whatever you want to call it. And that's wrong. Everybody deserves to be free of the earth after we pass. So if you know anybody that has taken their own lives, just forgive them. As I said, murder victims go through the same thing. They are confused in the beginning. If you lose a loved one, and I'm sure that most of you folks have either lost a grandparent or maybe a great-grandparent. Some may have even lost a sibling or a friend to a car accident. I was feeling a young girl that passed in a car accident when I came in here. And you're looking for messages. What happens is our grief blocks those messages from us. Grief is a really difficult thing to get through. We always feel guilty too. Like, for instance, if someone's dying in a hospital and we can't get there to be by their side, a lot of us will feel guilty that we weren't there. But the thing is that people who pass don't want us to feel guilty about that. They understand the physical limitations of getting to a hospital in time, and a lot of times people want to pass on their own terms. They want to pass by themselves. My mother just passed away in December, and she's in Massachusetts. So we had to pack up the car and drive up there ASAP after she had a stroke. I was able to see her before she passed, but and the doctors didn't know how she was still alive. So I told her it was okay to pass, and the next morning she did. But she did it when no one else was in the room, because she did not want anybody to be there. So don't feel guilty if you're not at the bedside of your loved one that passes. Other things that block messages: stress of life, dog, illness, job, not spending enough time with people, things like that. I just spoke at a grief conference yesterday morning, and I talked to a lot of parents who lost children, and they were all having a really hard time, of course, trying to get messages. But what's important to know is that life does go on, it's just in a different form. And the keys to getting messages is to having a peaceful mind. And I know students and career people, that's really hard to do, but there are places that we can actually calm down and quiet our mind. I tend to calm down when I'm sitting in front of a computer for some reason. And what's weird is that when I get emails from people who are looking for messages from loved ones, they actually come through. In one of my books I wrote, a woman that I didn't even know, I just worked with her via phone and email. She lives in California. She was feeling rather down, and I sensed that. And the reason I sensed that is because her best friend was standing behind me. So I sent her an email, and I said, I get the feeling that you're not feeling well today, and you're feeling really depressed. And she wrote me back, and she said, this is the anniversary that my best friend took his own life. And I said, well, he's right here. And I wound up sending her messages about his favorite picture that she has of him on the beach, how he had vested interest in her daughter's education, and various other things. And she confirmed every single thing that I got. And she was so relieved to hear that he had crossed over. It was very emotional for her. And he's come back a couple of times. So concentration, stress-free, don't dismiss anything you get. If you hear things that you can't make sense of, if you're in the shower, a lot of times I'll get messages in the shower. I talk to more people in the shower than I can tell you. My friend Kathy's mother passed away a couple of years ago, and I never met her. Kathy lives in Florida. And her mother has come to me a couple of times. It's kind of funny when you have a senior citizen coming into your shower, but it's not really the same. So she's come to me 3 times. And the last time she came to me, she had a message for Kathy, and she said, Kathy works on a golf course, and she said, the lawnmower that she's going to use has to be fixed immediately because the blade is going to fly off. So I'm like, okay, I'll call her tomorrow. And I heard her mother say, no, you call her right now. I'm like, well, it's 9:30 at night. She says, no, you call her right now. Oh, okay. So I called Kathy and I told her. And she said, okay, that sounds like my mother. Well, Kathy called me back the next day and said she took the lawnmower in, and the blade was about to fly off the lawnmower. So she was very thankful to her mom and to me for passing the message on. And then I asked Kathy, what is the significance of the first week of March? Because I look back in my first book where I wrote about 2 of those visitations by her mom, and then I realized that she visited me again on the first week of March for the 3rd year in a row. And I called Kathy back, and she said, this is my mom's birthday. So we'll get to why birthdays are important. To know you get a message. Now, as I said, it doesn't sound like something that you think about. If you're unfamiliar with the topic and suddenly something comes in your head, it may be somebody that has passed that's suggesting something to you. If you hear music in your head, it may be somebody sharing some music with you, something that was either important to them or important to you, or some kind of connection. If you get a name, I often get names. When we go on ghost investigations, I'll get first names, sometimes I'll get last names. Sometimes I even can sketch the face of the person. And it's kind of unnerving when you're on a ghost investigation and you sketch a face, and then the manager of the group goes in and shows the homeowner, and the homeowner goes, that's the guy that was walking through my house. It's kind of a crazy I call it like a superpower. But it's helpful because we're able to identify who the people are. And what's interesting is that we're actually able to go back into online records or any kind of newspaper accounts and find out exactly who these people were. And that's happened a lot. It's actually kind of unnerving. So, visualizing things you wouldn't even think about. For instance, if you see like a white pickup truck and then you realize that your grandfather used to drive a white pickup truck. And you're thinking about him just before you see it. That's your grandfather saying, I'm with you right now. And I sent this to you to just remind you that I am still here, helping you out. I took a three-day vacation in Mexico with my partner, and I was getting a massage, and I suddenly got a picture of a little girl with a bird, and she told me to tell her grandmother that she's at peace, and she loves the birds. She's enjoying being outside, and I had no idea what this meant. So I wound up asking the woman who was giving me the massage if she had a granddaughter that passed away. Of course, the woman only spoke Spanish, so I tried to speak Spanish. It came out like Spanglish, but I wound up getting an interpreter. The woman did have a granddaughter who passed away just a month before, and she used to love watching birds out in the backyard, and she really needed to hear the message from her granddaughter. And after we finished the massage, she came over and brought champagne. I was like, thank you, I just wanted to pass the message on. But it's really important to believe any kind of message that you think you're getting. Electronics. As I mentioned, it's all about energy. Mike talked about energy before, and energy can be used to manipulate things. Electricity, lights, things like skipping a CD, a phone call, unplugged TV or radio can go on. I'm going to address these, a couple of these. When my dad died in 2008, we went up to my mom's house and we stayed with her for the week of the services. And my dad played with all the electricity in the house. He would make lights go on and off. He would short plugs. He shorted a spotlight in the back of my mother's house. So we got the ladder out, went up to the highest part of the ladder, which is like 2 stories. I didn't do it, I had my partner do it because I'm afraid of heights. And so he changed the bulb, put a brand new bulb in there, turned the light switch on, it didn't go on. What? So I played with it, and of course, my partner's on the ladder going, turn it on. I'm like, I am, it's not going on. So he said it must be a defective bulb. And I said, okay, Dad, I know you're playing with the electricity in the house. You can cut it out, I know you're here. So I turned the switch again, and it went on. Okay. So they can play with electricity. I talked to a lot of people yesterday who said that their TV would go on automatically, lights would flicker, lights would go on and off by themselves. A lot of electronic things can go crazy. Phone calls. Yesterday when I was talking at the grief conference, a number of people, a number of parents have told me that their cell phones have rung with the number of their deceased child, and the deceased child's phone number is out of service. It doesn't work anymore, but yet their phone is ringing and the face of their child comes out on the phone. One woman even got a text message from her son who passed. So I know it sounds kind of creepy, but it's really not, because they're just people, just like us, and they just want to let us know that they're around. Music is one of the most important things when it comes to getting a message from loved ones who pass. Last week I was on Facebook, and a friend of mine lost her dog, Webster. And as soon as I was writing a note, I was listening to Pandora, and I'm old, so I listen to 80s music. and this song, Somewhere Out There, came on. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was from An American Tale, but it conveys a message that somewhere out there, someone else is thinking of you. And Webster let me know clearly that was a message from him to his mom. So don't dismiss things. When my puppy died, I came in the house and, after driving his body back to my house after he was killed. And I walked in the door, and the song Garth Brooks' song "The Dance" was playing. It's about a man who was happy to have any time with the love of his life, even though that time is over. That was a message. Buzz, which was my puppy's name, also moved the lid of a trash can when I was standing outside of the vet with some friends of mine. And there were 4 or 5 of us standing there, and there was nothing around the trash can, no wind, and we all watched the trash can lid just pop up, and we knew it was him. This is my aunt's confirmation of peace. This is kind of a funny personal story. My mother and my aunt are Italian, and they had this love-hate sister relationship that some of us have. My aunt would steal my mother's clothes and do other things and kind of be mean to my mother. So when my aunt passed away in 1983, she had a stroke. My mom was the only one there. And my aunt asked for forgiveness. And my mother said no, to my horror when I found out. I asked my mother, and she said Italians invented the word vendetta. I said, what? This is your sister. So over 25 years, it took 25 years for me to convince my mother to forgive my aunt. Why? Because my aunt was earthbound. She was a ghost. And she visited me a number of times, begging me to get forgiveness from my mom. So finally, my mom said, okay, if she's gonna stop bothering you, I'll forgive her. I'm like, no, that's not the way it works. So I finally got her to forgive her, and I asked for my aunt for confirmation that she has passed. I was listening to a song, this old Barbara Mandrell song, and because this song reminded me of my aunt, and I asked my aunt, I said, if you have crossed over, let me know. Suddenly the CD skipped twice. I said, oh, okay. All right, well, let's just ask you again. Just give me a confirmation that if you have crossed over, make that happen again. It skipped again, and then it didn't skip the rest of the time. And I played it again, of course, and it didn't skip. So that was a clear confirmation to my aunt that she had crossed over. So that music is a big signal. For anyone who's lost a loved one of the easiest ways that they can come through to you is in your dreams. Before you go to bed at night, if you're really missing, like if you're really missing your grandmother, if you're very close to her, and you want to get a message from her, or you just want to know that she's okay, talk to her before you go to bed. Sound is energy. It's all about energy, energy connectivity. Ask her to come into your dreams. It may not happen immediately, but it will happen. Keep a piece of paper and a pencil next to your nightstand and write down your dreams when you wake up. That's one of the easiest ways that they can come through to us, because our logical mind blocks out the signals from spirits. And when we're asleep, our logical mind is asleep. Unless you're like an engineer and you can't turn it off. And in dreams too, we always see our loved ones in peaceful settings. I've talked to a lot of people who've said that they've seen them in a field, they've been sitting talking with them, watching the sunset in the background. So that's the way that you'll typically see the person. They're always usually at peace. Now we're going to talk about some of the other ways that you can get the signs from loved ones. Typically, spirits like to use things in nature. Butterflies, dragonflies, feathers floating, pennies, coins, anything like that. After my dad died, I started finding coins all the time. And what's interesting is that when you find a coin, take a look at the year, because it may have some significance. My dad passed in 2008. After he passed, almost every coin was either 2008 or the year that he and my mother got married, or the year of his birth, 1928. Uncanny. For those that weren't, they they somehow connected to other relatives. When my dog Sprite passed, and animals can communicate the same way. I wrote the book Pets in the Afterlife to explain that dogs and cats have the intelligence of a 3 to 4 year old human child. And Dr. Stanley Coren is the one that did research on that. There's other scientific research also in the book about proving dogs have emotions and personalities and everything else. So there's a lot of science in there as well as explaining about symbols and so forth. When my dog Sprite passed, it was a heart-wrenching decision, of course, if you have a pet. Does anybody have a pet in here? Okay. Well, to me, my pets are my children, because my partner and I can't have children. So we had to make the decision. Our dog was 16 and a half years old. He was almost blind, he was almost deaf, he was incontinent, and he couldn't even pick up his back legs anymore. So we made the decision to take him to the vet. When he had a nosebleed one night, they thought it was a tumor, and they said that they wanted to actually put him down that night. I said no, he has to come home. I asked my dad and my partner's late partner to come in when we were putting Sprite down at the vet and help him cross over. Our relatives are always there, by the way, when we cross over, including some pets. When my mother passed away in the hospital, before she passed away, my dad was there, and my family dogs were there, and there were a bunch of relatives there. I could sense them all. And other mediums that are friends of mine called me and told me the same exact thing, that they named the people that were in the room. It was uncanny. So after Sprite passed, I wanted a sign that he was okay. And he sent a butterfly. Spirits would do that. The way I knew it was from him is because we had never seen a butterfly in our backyard the entire summer. It was July 8th last year. And this is the first time I saw a butterfly, and it came around our other 3 dogs, and it just lingered for 20 minutes. And none of the dogs chased it. None of them tried to eat it. You know, the dogs try to eat flies or whatever. They didn't, and it just lingered around them. Like Sprite used to do, just walk around them when they were playing. And the butterfly would come back, and it would always be around the dogs. And when I wrote about that on my personal blog, my friend Jill, who lives in Maryland, was reading that, and a yellow and black butterfly came and landed on her stomach when she was reading the blog about Sprite and Sprite's butterfly. My friend Layla in California was also reading it that week. That very time, a yellow and black butterfly came and landed on her. So she immediately called me up. So spirits can bring messages to other people. And one thing I've learned in talking to people on the other side is that there's no such thing as a coincidence. Spirits will influence things to happen, and they can manipulate insects. They can also bring birds to us. I was talking to 4 families, each of who had a teenage son that died in a car accident. These 4 boys were together on the Eastern Shore. You may remember it happened about a year ago. And one of the boys came through to me while I was waiting for my friend Ruthie to talk and give messages. And he said that he has sent a robin to his dad every day. And it was apparent that the robin was there because of him, because the robin didn't move. The robin stayed there and lingered and kept looking. So I asked the families, and one of the dads said, for the last 2 weeks, a robin has come to my window and sat on that window and just looked at me. And he said, that's my son. And I knew it was my son. So I put this in because these are for bad relatives. Other things that spirits can convey messages from are objects and scents, furniture, clothing, cars, clocks. Sometimes when people die, clocks will stop, by the way. They're using their energy to stop the clocks. Has anybody experienced that? No? Well, you may. Favorite flowers. Cigarette smoke, oftentimes when we go on ghost investigations, we will smell cigar or cigarette smoke, like fresh cigar or cigarette smoke. I know that it lingers in the walls of buildings, but we'll also smell perfumes. We're not allowed to wear any kind of aftershave or perfume or anything when we're on investigations because it will interfere with what the evidence we're trying to get. If you see somebody wearing a jacket that one of your loved ones used to wear, it's likely that your loved one in spirit is moving you over to them to show you that jacket to let you know that they're with you. Same thing with a vehicle. Doppelgangers. Has anyone seen someone that looked like a relative that passed or a friend that passed? Okay, we guys are, okay, one person. You guys are young, so you will. Trust me. Yesterday at the conference, I asked that question, and so many people said that they've seen people in supermarkets, they've seen people driving in cars that they thought were their deceased children or their deceased mother or grandmother or something like that. And spirits will use other people that resemble them to let you know that they're around too. So you may see somebody that resembles somebody that passed, and that's just another message. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. These are two of my dogs. They like to celebrate. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays are very important to spirits. Think about most of the times when you call the people that you love. Aren't they on birthdays, anniversaries, or holidays? Well, that's when spirits will make themselves most known to us. Those occasions. On my birthday last year, last October, after my partner went to work, I went back to bed with our 3 dogs, put all the dogs on the bed, and then about a half hour later, I distinctly heard my father's voice call my name. And all 3 dogs looked out to the kitchen at the same time that I heard them. So they heard them. They heard my dad's voice too. And by the way, dogs can hear spirits. They can hear at the frequencies in which spirits communicate. I actually took one of my dogs, I took the Weimer on her on a ghost investigation. And it turned out that she actually was able to confirm that the owner's dog was still in spirit and visiting the house. She actually followed the dog's daily routine through the house up to one particular room and sat there. And their dog who passed used to go into that one particular room because that's where her son was, ignoring the daughter's room. So we were able to confirm that their dog visits from time to time. So, and dogs, by the way, not only can they hear them because of the different cones and rods in their eyes, they can see movement, they can see faster movement. They can only see 75 feet clearly, but they can see movement up to about 200 feet. So they can see something that maybe a squirrel. They don't know what it is until they get a lot closer. That's why if you walk a dog by a lawn ornament that looks like a bunny, they don't know, they'll kind of slink over to it until they get close enough to actually see it. I talked about my friend Kathy's mother. And another message I got was from my friend Lynn, her brother, who passed away. He actually passed away around Thanksgiving. And he came to me and gave me messages for Lynn. And it was the day before Thanksgiving that he came to me. And I called her up, and she confirmed everything I said to her. I never knew him. He told me that he has the same color eyes as she does. I mean, he died before I even met her. And he did. And a couple of other things that only she would know, that I would not know. So, recognizing signs from loved ones. In closing, be aware, don't dismiss anything. There's no such thing as coincidence. Our loved ones come back around the holidays, and if you find something that reminds you of your loved one, it's likely that you were led to that, because spirits have a way of doing that. Our loved ones do guide us to make choices too, and if you miss them a lot, ask them to come into your dreams. And they will. Just be aware. With that, thank you very much.